Hey guys, it's Matt. Only two screenshots, I think. You don't need to see anything here. Just about 2 years, I believe, after we first started talking about the AWS, which is an Amazon offshoot company, their terms of service at 42-10, several pages in, to their legalese, their legal contract terms of service, still talks about the zombie apocalypse. Still does. And the terms of service are updated continuously. They're updated in September, just a few weeks ago. Now, I'm not making this video to cover this topic again. I would not do it just to cover this topic again, although we will cover this topic again. It's the catalyst behind what this video is about, and it is completely bizarre, one of the strangest things I've ever seen in my entire life. But it's more about the normie reaction. I'm going to tell you what happened. I'll give you two guesses, but you're only going to need one. When I presented this to my stepfather, I said, I just have to test this out. Now, I knew how he was going to react. I knew the scripts he would run, but I just had to do it. And I, I did it last night. But for a few of you aren't familiar with this, let's look at 4210. And then, again, the main purpose of this video is to describe how people run scripts. None of the, quote, normal people around you, around me, appear to ever be able to give you a honest answer or an answer that suits the question that you're posing to them. They're all on some sort of frequency, all on some sort of download, almost like they pull answers from somewhere that's not even part of themselves. And that's more important. That's what I want to talk about here. We've all been through this, but based on what happened last night, I just want to complain about this one more time. Okay, before I can talk about the reaction, let's just jump into what the problem is here. AWS is a multi-billion-dollar company inside of Amazon, business services all over the world for whatever they provide, server farms or web hosting or whatever. I don't know, but it's a multi-billion-dollar company, of course, inside Amazon. Multi-page legalese. These are the legal terms. There is no fine print after this. This is essentially the contract, what would need to be presented and stood behind in a court of law to protect Amazon from lawsuit. That's what all these terms of service and legalese are for. This, in the normal business world up till now, is not a joke in any way. And the other terms of service, look at page 5, look at page 1. I'll show you another page. It is the legalese you would expect. Okay, Matt, get to it, you son of a beach. Sorry. The bottom of 4210, it doesn't matter what it says up front. It says, however, this restriction will not apply in the event of the occurrence certified by the United States Centers for Disease Control or successor body of a widespread viral infection transmitted via bites or contact with bodily fluids that cause human corpses to reanimate and seek to consume living human flesh, blood, brain, or nerve tissue, and is likely to result in the fall of organized civilization. Were you falling asleep on the train and you just went, what? What did he say? What? Wait a second. What did he? Bot, I need to talk to the bot. Bot, I'm reading the AWS legalese terms of service, bot. I'm allowed, this is their terminology, okay? Don't give me any issue. Bot, dong, bot, I'm reading their language, okay? I'm not allowed to do that. One more time. We'll try to get to the bottom of this, if it's even possible. However, this restriction will not apply in the event of the occurrence certified by the United States Center for Disease Control or successive body of a widespread viral infection transmitted via bites or contact with bodily fluids that causes human corpses to reanimate and seek to consume living human flesh, blood, brain, or nerve tissue, and is likely to result in the fall of organized civilization. Now, number one, if that scares you, it shouldn't, okay? It shouldn't. Matt, what do you mean it shouldn't? They're basically predicting the zombie apocalypse right here in 42.10. You're of all people, you sons of bitches on your truth channels, have been telling us about that they have to show us in predictive programming and stuff. They have to show us. They have to reveal the truth. Well, here it is. They didn't expect anybody would ever read it. They got to show us. I'm scared shit. No, 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 there's no reason to that. If it was coming, what is it called? A Fear the Walking Dead or whatever, or I Am Legend, or it wouldn't be in the AWS terms of service. Okay, relax. We'll come back to this later. I want to talk about, and the reason for this video is when I spoke to my stepfather over the phone, and he said, Matt, I got your email about that strange AWS terms of service, and I started talking to him about it. But first, let me just prove to you that this is the full legalese of the AWS contract. Let me just show you page 1. I know most of you can't see it. I'll be 1 minute or less, as brief as possible. Some of you just won't buy this could possibly be real. So I know I'm down to 50 seconds. The URL is aws.amazon.com/es/AIF whatever /service-terms. AWS is a multi-billion-dollar company, I'm sure, inside of Amazon. Service terms last updated September 30th, 2022. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I know I have 30 seconds or less now. The service terms below govern your use of the services. Capitalized terms used in the service terms but not defined below are defined as AISPL customer agreement. You click on that link and that sublink. 1. Universal service terms applicable to all services. You may not transfer outside the services any software, including related documentation you obtain from us, our affiliates, a third-party license. You must comply with the current technological documentation applicable to the service. Okay, it goes. It's their standard legalese. This is where you find the subset on page 5 or 6 or 7 on the zombie apocalypse. That's my interpretation of what they're saying about the reanimation of human bodies. I'm going to just for short call it the zombie apocalypse bot. I'm allowed to interpret it I'm allowed to interpret it my own way if the damn service terms talks about the consuming of human flesh. I'm not saying that, bot. Don't say I'm inciting violins. I'm reading the service terms, bot. Look at the top right orange button. You can even right there create an AWS account. I'm not going to click on it, but what's the first thing that happens when you click on it? Does it say, click here if there are zombies coming at you, or are you making an account before the zombies? It's a post or pre-zombie. You have to choose which type of account you want to set up. And there's even a third. If zombies are bum rushing your corporate headquarters right now, create this type of account. I would think that's what would happen if you clicked on that orange button. All right, let me finally get to what I want to complain about. My stepfather, as anybody would, if my stepfather's listening, I don't think he listens to too many videos, but all you normal people run the same scripts. You pull the same responses. There's no critical thinking. There's no common sense. There's no fairness in the people presenting this issue like myself or trying to point out the weirdness of the world. So script number 1 runs, and it's this couldn't, it's like, this can't be right. I mean, I didn't click on this, but it doesn't take you. This couldn't possibly be in the current terms of service, which it is. We looked at it 2 years ago. It's been there for who knows how many years. They update the service terms all the time. It says it was updated September. And well, then script number 2. Well, it was embedded in here. They don't know about it. Oh, no, they don't know about it. AWS, all the conspiracy people have been talking about it for years, but they don't know about it. Here's an article, a general article. There's several articles on the web in general from techie websites that talk about how weird this is, but they don't know about it. So that script doesn't work. So I keep countering the scripted replies, and the standard algorithm formula the normal person will run is they will just search for one of these where they don't accept my reply as adequate, where they can then sleep at night. So they'll continue to run and run scripts, run algorithms. And the next one was, what was the next one? It was, this old thing. Oh, nobody reads these things. It was like a joke or something. They buried it inside of pages and pages of legalese and terms and conditions, and nobody reads these things. So then I shoot back with, so this is considered, my stepfather's worked with insurance contracts, in legal, and he's been called as a witness for major cases where buildings weren't built properly, and he knows this. Of all people that should be taking these terms and conditions seriously, and for anybody that doesn't have a business background listening to this presentation, you simply don't do this in the legal document. It's just never been done. It's not done. Every single major corporation has this legalese and contracts, and not only is the language of the utmost seriousness, it can't even be understood by most people because it's in legalese. The attorneys take it extremely seriously. This isn't done. This is never done. This is so strange it defies all logic. Now, my stepfather should know this. He says, "Oh, somebody just put it in there. They know nobody reads it." So I said, "So the person that put it in there in the legal department or contracts department, they're just going to risk their job. They make $125,000 with benefits, so that would be like making $140,000, have two kids, and they're just going to throw in a few sentences into the legal document for fun, which these legal documents are reviewed by multiple lawyers that have completely different subset of skills. So yeah, they're just going to throw it in. Nobody reads it. Yeah, one guy in a cube somewhere, like the guy at the bottom of Star Trek Voyager that was trying to like solve Schlot's theory of whatever. He didn't want to be bothered by Janeway or Tuvok or all the other assholes. It's just one guy will do the whole terms of service of AWS, and nobody will read it. And they'll just trust him. The billion-dollar company trust he gets it all right. And it's not even proof for spelling by anybody. Yeah, does that make any sense? Well, then I was not that strong with him, but then they'll think, well, yeah, he did address that. So then they search for another way out, and that's what the normal person does that runs their scripts and their algorithms. They'll search for another way out. So at that point in the conversation, I forget exactly what happened, but then he threw back a combination of everything at me at once, hoping, like lobbing three hard-boiled eggs back at me. One would hit where they didn't hit if they were lobbed individually. I was able to address them one at a time, like, oh, come on, nobody reads this. It's some weird employee playing a joke. And by the way, it might not even be there, right? If it's not there now. And I was like, yeah, I told you it's there now. He's like, well, you sent me this article that says this article is over a year old. I said, but the article has a link to go to see that it goes right to AWS/Amazon. The link is the current and updated terms of service. And he's like, I'm not going to click this link. I don't know where it goes. So there's just every single defense mechanism. Like, well, okay, fine. Let's just say all of what you're saying is true. Why would they let's just say it's a joke. Okay, it's not, how serious contract language is. I said, why would they reference an agency, a quote, real agency? It says here, certified by the United States Center for Disease Control. Certified by the United States Center for Disease Control or successor body. I said, John, why would that be in there? Let's just say it's all what you said. Wouldn't the US CDC Atlanta send AWS a notice, say a year and a half ago, saying, it's come to our attention that you're using our name in reference to some weird language about a zombie apocalypse, and if you want to you can do whatever you want in your terms of service, but you can't use our name. You see what a problem that would be if anything in the world were real? This isn't anybody new. This isn't my first rodeo. I'm well aware of the one world system and all that. I can't do a sidebar. But I said to him, do you see how that the CDC would have a major problem with this if things were real? And they would have reached out to Amazon maybe over 2 years ago. And he didn't have anything to say about that. So I'm like glitching, blue screen. And then it just had to go on to something else. Said, well, look, forget this. What's really strange to me is all this stuff that's coming out now in these magazines I read about how the government's admitting UFOs. Just completely changed the subject. And I'm like, well, okay, I've heard about all the UFO release, whatever. I'm not talking about that. Let's talk about this. He's like, no, well, it's the UFOs that are really strange about all these accounts by Navy fighter pilots and Air Force fighter pilots, completely switching. And then I was a little, then I laid in a little bit too much. I said, you guys who you guys on that side of the wall that don't believe what we believe, you can never be fair. Can never be. And then we got in a little tit for tat. It wasn't good. Maybe I pushed a little bit too hard. It never can be fair. So what do you want me to say? You want me to believe in all your conspiracy stuff? I said, no, just for once, say, you know what, Matt? I'm not going to probably believe all the strange things. You've heard me say this before, guys. I'm not going to believe all the strange things that you do, Matt, but I'll give you this. I've studied in contracts for 30, 40 years. This is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. That's all he had to say to give me just a little bit of, I don't know what the word is. Solace. I don't know. You guys can never be fair. He's like, well, what do you want me to say? What I wanted you to say, I told him, I said, just that, hey, I'm not going to believe all your conspiracy horse shit, But I'll give you that, Matt. Thanks for sending it to me. This is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. I said, okay, thanks for acknowledging it. The world's a really weird place. Cannot go there. Cannot acknowledge that it's even weird. There's always a reason for it. It's a joke. Everything's always explainable. It's incredible how the people around us run their scripts and their algorithms. Their mind or thoughts are not their own. No real world could do this. And even this gets into the range of reality breakdown. All the reality breakdown to me is as you follow the river back up and try to find the source, and you can never find the source. You go to this tributary, but wait, that's not the source. It's coming in over here. It starts to break down. Well, where does this river come from? That's all a reality breakdown is. If it leads nowhere. It doesn't mean a UFO flies and lands on my head. It just means it all just doesn't add up as you look into the details. We could just do this all day long, a bunch of examples. So if we know about it in this community for years, Amazon knows about it, right? They have hundreds and hundreds of people that work in legalese and AWS, legal services, whatever, paralegals. Okay, Matt, somebody there probably questioned it. So they went into Bob's office and they said, Bob, I've looked at I'm the one that does the update refresh in the terms of service and puts it back on the web. What is this reanimation of consuming human flesh? Like, what does Bob then say to, oh, that's a joke? I mean, does he have a script that, yeah, that's a joke we put in there? Well, okay, well then, is that a good idea? Is it pure mockery? That even if it is pure mockery at the Bezos level, where they are the kings of the world, they are the masters of the universe. They can put in any line anywhere. Matt, if somebody's screaming at me, throwing rubber duckies, they're not accountable to the law. They would never lose a lawsuit. They're above the law. Okay, I hear you. But if that's at Bezos level and they're laughing about it because they know they're above everything, Rothschild, I'll create the money. I don't care who makes the laws. They're above everything. Fine. What are all the people told at the lower levels? All the hundreds and hundreds of people that work in the legal department that post this stuff. They all know about the zombie apocalypse line in Amazon or AWS's terms and conditions. Is it just that's it? They just say, well, it's a joke from above. Well, they'd be a little like, well, why does this just stay in here for years and years? It's just strange all around. Why do you want to? I don't know. It's just as you look into or follow the tributaries up the river, it just kind of breaks down. Why is there? Let's go up another tributary. This one's not going anywhere. Somebody's throwing rubber duckies like Matt. The people at the very top are insane. All the people that work there are on the corporate culture frequency. They don't see any problem with this. They just probably say, oh, it's a joke. And they just, okay, fine. Okay, that doesn't really make sense to me, but I'm not getting anywhere with it. So let's move on. There's AWS or Amazon has shareholder quarterly conference calls where the big banks and stock companies can ask questions about where their shares are going, or I don't know if AWS is traded separately or not. It doesn't matter. So at some point in a conference call or in a press conference, or all the times they've brought the media in, or nobody's ever raised their hand and said, why does AWS have zombie apocalypse line? No reporter has ever asked about it. No reporter is just ever even picked up the phone and called public relations at AWS. Is like, yeah, I cover a big business for Time Magazine. You guys want to make a statement as to why you have a zombie line in your terms of service? And what's that all about? I've been getting, nobody ever asks about it. It's just we're on the one side of the river, which is where the ship has sailed, the ship of fools. Everything on the other side of the river, other than where we are, doesn't make any sense in the world anymore. And if we ever struggle with, maybe we're the ones that are fooled because everybody around us thinks we're nuts. It's this sort of thing right here that proves we are the last bastion of sanity. It's the rest of the world on the ship of fools that has gone insane. That sounds insane to them. Oh, you guys are the only ones normal. Well, then you normal people in the ship of fools, explain this, you jackasses.